Varvatos, the greatest demon lord in history, was feared so utterly that the entire world looked on him only with dread. Even the one person he had once called his best friend could no longer see him as a fellow human being. Alone at the very peak of his power, the demon lord longed for just one impossible thing, to finally know defeat. So he cast aside everything he was and chose to be reborn into a distant, peaceful future where he might start over. He returns as Ard Meteor, the beloved only son of a kind and utterly ordinary country couple, celebrating his 10th birthday. But this world's magic has decayed over 3,000 years, leaving the cheerful nobody boy secretly, monstrously overpowered. All he truly wants from this second life is a single real friend, someone who will stand beside him without fear. Yet the moment he tries to approach the village children, they take one look at him and flee in terror. The kids only whisper that he's more than a little scary and quietly back away from him. The god-slaying demon lord finds himself utterly defeated by simple social anxiety and a nervous stomachache. In desperation, he offers the kids half of the entire world if they'll be his friends, which only scares them more. The reborn demon lord can reshape the world with a thought, yet he cannot make a single child smile. He even has to stop himself from leveling the whole landscape out of sheer frustration. The gentle village mayor, Allhide, finds him sulking and gives him the one lesson his power never taught him: just be kind. Then he hears furious shouting and discovers a lonely girl tearing through forest monsters with raw fire and lightning. Her power is staggering, far more violent than the ancient wolf in front of her could ever require. Art approaches, earnestly praises her as magnificent, then clumsily critiques her form and blurts out a request to be friends. She tears up and rejects him on the spot. Mocked her whole life, the girl named Irina trusts no one. She screams that she hates this dull little countryside and storms away from him. Undaunted, he courts her for days with roses and moonlit poetry, earning nothing but a flat creep. Then the mountain's dungeon core runs wild, and a flood of monsters overruns the entire village. Worse, Irina is trapped up in the peaks, cornered and jeered at by a pack of cruel goblins. The girl everyone once called a monster finally breaks down and cries out for someone, anyone, to save her. Art appears in an instant, steps in front of her, and coldly warns the goblins for preying on the weak. Then he annihilates the entire pack with one casual, overwhelming burst of power. In the silence afterward, she asks why he saved her, quietly admitting she had wanted to die. Art confesses he understands that loneliness too, because long ago he betrayed his own dearest friend. Under the moon, he swears never to betray her, on the name of the demon Lord Varvatos, and Irina finally accepts him. Years later, a grown-up Irina bursts into his room with a plan. The two of them will enroll at the Academy of Magic together. At the prestigious LaVille Academy of Magic, the elderly headmaster Count Gold welcomes the new class of students. When the entrance exam results go up, Ard is horrified to discover he somehow scored a perfect 0. But Gold is overjoyed. Ard's answers weren't wrong. They were simply centuries too advanced for anyone here to grade. The proud headmaster presents the so-called genius boy to his stunned new classmates. Then his cover takes a hit as Ard is revealed to be the son of the legendary heroes Jack and Carla Meteor. Irina turns out to be the daughter of the famous heroic Baron, and students swarm to befriend the two heroes' children. Soon the arrogant noble Elraldo Spencer sneers at Ard's timid succubus classmate, Ginny, and calls her a lowly servant. When Ard quietly demands an apology, the proud noble challenges him to a duel instead. Their teacher steps in, Lady Olivia, secretly the demon lord's own former general, and she allows the match. Ard panics inwardly, terrified that his old general will somehow recognize her long-dead master in him. Elraldo hurls his grandiosely named flame spells, but Ard blocks every one with a barrier raised without a single word. Ard calmly mocks him for dressing up weak, common spells with such grand and boastful names. Then he shows the noble a real giga flare, a colossal explosion that swallows the entire arena. Elraldo survives only because Ard shielded him at the very same instant, a double cast this era believes impossible. Lady Olivia recognizes the feat as a long-lost skill, and her suspicions about this ordinary boy only deepen. On a dungeon field trip, the gentle Ginny nervously joins Ard and Irina's party. There, Ard one-shots a deadly black wolf as casually as swatting an insect. His only worry is holding back enough to leave behind a hide worth skinning. Ginny admits she's been told her whole life that she's slow and worthless. To rebuild her confidence, Ard teaches her his own invention, script magic, glowing circles drawn in midair that cost no power. Under his guidance, she casts her very first spell and lights up with pure joy. When a hidden pit drops the trio before a towering Minotaur boss, Ard turns the fight into Ginny's final lesson. He wears the beast down, then steps aside and lets Ginny strike the finishing blow herself. She refuses to keep running, fells the boss, and swears to become stronger. Back at school, when El Raldo mocks her again, Ginny finds the courage to stand up for her new friends. Ard's perfect first day ends on one ominous note. Olivia corners him for a long, private talk. Back at school, the headmaster begs Ard to headline a public battle event to win the academy more funding. Ard flatly refuses. To him, magic exists to protect people, not to be paraded around for money. Then the shy Ginny stuns everyone by working up the nerve to ask Ard out on a date. A jealous Irina instantly demands a date of her own, and the outing becomes a three-person affair. Together, they watch a dramatic stage play retelling the legend of the demon Lord Varvatos himself. Ard squirms in his seat as the actors get nearly every detail of his real past life completely wrong. All the while, Ginny's sealed succubus charm keeps slipping out and quietly dazzling the whole room. Later, over dinner, he overhears a shadowy group plotting to seize the queen. Both girls insist on coming along, refusing to let him face the danger alone. Following the trail down into the sewers, the trio discovers an enormous glowing magic circle and a trap. Kidnappers spring from the shadows, surround them, and threaten to kill them all. Ard coolly deduces they mean to capture, not kill, and calmly lets them make the first move. They unleash everything they have on him, and he simply stands there, completely unharmed. He pins them effortlessly and leaves one conscious to interrogate, dragging out the truth. One attacker drops his disguise to reveal a demon, blasts lightning, and flees into the sky. Ard calmly reminds everyone that he can fly, and gives chase straight through the air. To calm the panicking townsfolk, he boldly announces himself as the son of the great mage. The demon seizes a child as a hostage, but Ard reveals the hostage was only an illusion he had planted. Then he erases the demon with a single blinding blast, the flash of Babel. He returns the real child safely, and the grateful crowd hoists up their new hero, Sir Ard. His deeds earn the trio an audience with Her Majesty, Queen Rosie, who happens to be an old friend of Irina's. Delighted by him, the queen showers Ard with praise and even jokingly proposes marriage. His flustered friends erupt in protest at the royal joke. Instead of rank for himself, Ard humbly asks her to fund the academy, and the impressed queen grants it. She elevates Ard and Irina into her personal special force, the Queen's Shadow, and rewards Ginny as well. But in the shadows, the conspirators measure Ard's strength and whisper of a far greater monster yet to come. Episode 4 opens with yet another love-struck boy confessing to Irina, who politely turns him down. In private, though, she reveals a surprisingly calculating and scheming side. That night, Ginny slips into Ard's room and uses her succubus charm to freeze him in place. Irina bursts in at the worst possible moment and absolutely explodes. The two girls bicker endlessly over Ginny's relentless scheme to build an arty harem. The two girls nearly come to blows until Lady Olivia firmly shuts the squabble down. Professor Jessica proposes they settle their rivalry properly in the Academy's grand battle event. Secretly, she means to use the event to force the proud nobles to accept the commoner Ard as a teacher. The tournament kicks off with dazzling magical duels in a packed arena. Contestant after contestant is eliminated in a string of flashy upsets. As their teacher, Ard secretly hopes both girls lose with as few injuries as possible. Irina fights her way to a decisive victory. Between matches, the two friends swear to hold nothing back when they finally clash. Ginny wins her match too, setting up a final showdown between the two friends. Up in the booth, Irina's father, the heroic Baron, proudly commentates on his daughter. But the instant the final begins, the royal capital comes under a sudden, ferocious monster attack. Monsters pour into the arena, and the group splits up to defend the city. Irina is knocked to the ground, and Ginny desperately rallies her back up. Ginny stands over her fallen friend and screams that they cannot give up now. Then the heroic Baron arrives and crushes the attackers in a display of overwhelming force. The crowd roars for the heroic Baron as he stands triumphant over the rubble. But it's a trap. Professor Jessica suddenly strikes the Baron down and sheds her disguise. She is Elzard, the frenzied king of dragons, and the entire attack was staged to capture Irina. Ginny throws herself between them, refusing to let the dragon take her friend. She's easily overpowered, and to save Ginny's life, Irina surrenders herself. The episode ends on Ginny's anguished scream as Irina is carried away. Ard wakes in the school infirmary to devastating news. Irina has been kidnapped by Elzard, the frenzied king of dragons. A desperate lord throws open the royal treasury and entrusts the entire rescue to a resolute Ard. Far away, Irina is bound at a dark ritual site where the dragon covets the very blood in her veins. Elzard intends to feed that blood to an orphan of chaos and summon a long-sealed evil god. She means to burn down this soft world, and taunts Irina that Ard will despise her once he learns her secret. At home, Ard gently reassures a frightened Ginny that he'll have Irina back by dinner time. Then he sets off, alone, to face a dragon. At the ritual site, the terrified Irina recoils as the dark ceremony reaches its peak. Ard descends from the sky with an icy greeting for her captors. A single massive spell, a 9-cast, wipes out every last henchman at once. He reaches the sobbing Irina, frees her, and quietly apologizes for arriving late. Elzard plays her trump card, revealing Irina's true name is Laville, and she carries the blood of the evil gods. Ard doesn't flinch. To him, none of it matters, because Irina is kinder and brighter than anyone, like the sun. Elzard strikes with a spear that nullifies lightning, but Ard is unharmed and counters effortlessly. He calmly lectures the dragon that those who never truly struggle grow weak and complacent. Enraged, the dragon sheds her human form, rises into her monstrous true shape, and goes berserk. In answer, Ard's hidden combat system awakens and begins releasing his sealed limiters. He summons his partner out of his own soul, asking, "Shall we dance, Lydia?" Then he takes the dragon on in a breathtaking aerial battle, his weapons charging to fire. Lydia's voice runs the tactical readouts as the two of them twist through the dark sky. Irina screams for him to win, and Ard answers the dragon's cruelty with one truth: he is not alone anymore. He transforms into his brave demon's second form, wreathed in fire. His magic canceller unravels Elzard's power as he analyzes, understands, and controls everything she throws. Then he charges his ultimate weapon, Ultimatum Zero, all the way to full power. A single radiant golden blast obliterates the frenzied king of dragons completely. He reunites with Irina, who throws her arms around the hero who came for her. And quietly, she resolves to grow strong enough to one day truly stand at his side. Episode 6 opens deep in a dungeon, where a fierce girl named Sylphie unleashes a devastating spell. Strong at last to help her beloved big sis Lydia, she heads home, believing she trained for only 3 years. Instead, she stumbles into a strange, modernized town and is shoved aside like a clueless bumpkin. A hooded stranger greets her by name and reveals the shattering truth. 3,000 years have passed. The demon Lord Varvatos is long dead, his soul reborn as a boy now living quietly as Ard Meteor. At the academy, the headmaster announces a grand festival, a 100th anniversary, and a Sword King tournament. But a chilling threat letter arrives, written on human skin and signed by Lars Al Ghul. Sylphie storms into the school demanding Ard, only for Olivia to flatten her in a single instant. She accuses Ard of being the reincarnated demon lord and demands to know what became of Lydia. Desperate for any word of the friend she idolizes, Sylphie demands he face her in a duel. Olivia turns the lesson into a sword duel, secretly testing whether Ard really is who Sylphie claims. Ard plans to throw the match spectacularly to protect his secret. Their duel is so far beyond the other students that the entire class is left in stunned awe. But reflex takes over, and he accidentally defeats her in a single clean strike. Refusing to accept it, a furious Sylphie escalates to dangerous, world-threatening spells. Ard stops her cold, revealing that her blade has been leaking deadly poison mana. He sternly asks how the gentle Lydia would feel to see her acting like this. Irina reminds her that real strength should never hurt others, and a tearful Sylphie finally apologizes. When snobbish nobles mock Sylphie as a mere commoner, Irina defiantly defends her. Preparing for the festival, the class casts their play, with Ard as the demon lord and Irina as the hero Lydia. Sylphie eagerly volunteers to play the evil god, hungry for a rematch on stage. Ginny, meanwhile, pitches a maid cafe as the class's festival attraction. Ard approves it, on the strict condition that only volunteers have to wear the costumes. And in the shadows, Lars Al Ghul smiles, waiting for the moment Sylphie learns. Video 2 opens at the lively school festival, where Ard and his friends wander the stalls together, pretending to be on patrol. For the very first time in either of his long lives, the reborn demon lord finally feels like he truly belongs somewhere. A self-appointed patrol girl prowls the crowded festival, determined to sniff out anything even slightly suspicious. She accuses a wandering swordsman of being a demon, but Sylphie cheerfully vouches for him, insisting he simply makes incredible fries. At an ancient sealed tree, Olivia hints that the legendary Sword King once locked something precious and dangerous away inside it. Then she drops a bombshell on Ard. She has secretly entered him into the Academy's Grand Sword King Battle Tournament. Ard's own class, meanwhile, is busy running a shamelessly and bluntly named maid cafe. When a rowdy customer gropes one of the maids, Ard calmly steps in to handle the troublemaker himself. The maids fawn over him as their master, then immediately start squabbling over which of them gets to serve him. The tournament's grand prize is finally revealed, a gleaming replica of the legendary Holy Sword, Vault Galgulus. Irina, Sylphie, and Ard all eagerly throw their names in to compete for it. The preliminary rounds begin, and the announcer loudly hypes up the 3 most exceptional contestants in the entire bracket. Ard is so completely overlooked that he isn't even counted among those 3. Unbothered, he advances through his matches carefully, planning to throw the fight only once he reaches the finals. When the timid Ginny's turn finally comes, the entire crowd simply expects her to lose. But Ard's steady encouragement from the sidelines helps her pull off a stunning comeback and win her match. Sylphie then drags a reluctant Ard into the festival's beauty contest as well. Ginny is crowned the contest's winner right alongside Ard, and at last her battered confidence truly soars. Then comes the moment everyone has waited for, the tournament final, Lady Olivia herself against Ard. The very instant she turns serious, Ard reflexively blasts the legendary General clean out of the arena. It's such ridiculous overkill that he is disqualified for prohibited magic, while Olivia is knocked from the match entirely. That leaves Irina to face off against the mysterious dark horse of the tournament, Sylphie. Their duel quickly devolves into a jealous love rivalry over Ard, and Irina ultimately claims the win. Even long after the match is over, the 2 girls keep right on bickering over him. And in the shadows, Olivia mutters darkly that her actors simply aren't following the script. Episode 8 opens backstage, as the whole class scrambles in a panic to prepare its big festival play. A nervous, badly stuttering Irina frets over her starring role, and Ard gently reassures her she'll be wonderful. The play finally begins, with Ard hamming it up dramatically as a gloriously, theatrically evil demon lord. He cringes inwardly the entire time at being forced to perform such a flattering version of his real self. The story dramatizes the ancient war of Varvatos and the hero Lydia against a terrible evil god. On stage, a young fighter modeled on Sylphie desperately begs to be allowed to prove herself in the battle. Her clumsy hidden traps backfire into slapstick comedy, but still manage to deal the enemy a crushing blow. The hero Lydia warmly praises her, gently reminding the girl to trust in and lean on her allies. The class play turns out to be a complete and roaring success. Afterward, Sylphie quietly slips away alone to a grave, mourning that she dearly misses her big sis. She asks Ard to come and meet her at the Tree of the Sword King once the tournament ends. In the final, the unstoppable dark horse Sylphie wins her match in a single, dazzling instant. At the tree, She faces Ard and coldly, calmly confesses that she now wants to kill him. She draws out the real holy sword Vault Galgulus, which was secretly sealed inside that very tree all along. Then she lunges into a furious attack, screaming that she will finally murder Ard Meteor. Ard quickly realizes the truth. She's been brainwashed by a gloating, masked villain pulling her strings. The villain had shown her a vision of Lydia's death and ordered her to strike the hated demon lord down. Irina throws up a Giga Shield and Ginny rushes in to help, but the two of them are quickly overwhelmed. Irina absolutely refuses to abandon the girl she's come to think of as her own little sister. Ard shields them both, but even his powerful cancellation magic can't break her iron-tight mind control. Left with no other way to save everyone, he reluctantly begins a grim countdown. At the very final second, the spirit of the real Lydia appears and gently stays Sylphie's blade. Ard turns on the masked villain, who desperately tries to take the entire royal capital down with him. Ard disarms him, declaring that holy swords choose their own wielders, and effortlessly snuffs out the blast. Lydia's spirit speaks tenderly to Sylphie, urging her to live her life fully, and then says her goodbye. As she slowly fades away, a heartbroken Sylphie reaches out for her beloved big sis one final time. Episode 9 finds the trio relaxing with a card game, with Irina stuck on a hopeless, humiliating losing streak. The cursed card she keeps drawing supposedly means the Dragon King Elzard has fallen hopelessly in love with her. The three of them page through an old history book about the scholar Verda and the champion Lydia. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light sweeps all three of them away into a vast, starless void. There, a strange being calling itself a god warns them that someone is trying to alter all of history. It begs them to eliminate that someone and quietly prays that they will be the ones left to survive. They wake up beneath two moons in the sky, undeniable proof they've been hurled into the distant past. Ard instantly recognizes the very age of the demon Lord Varvatos and lays out their two urgent goals. When a monstrous death stinger attacks a soldier, Ard casually obliterates the beast with a single blast. A much younger Lady Olivia thanks him for the rescue, plainly stunned by his raw, effortless power. She tries to intimidate him, but he doesn't even flinch, so she decides to recruit him on the spot. Ard calmly gives his name and accepts her offer to join. Olivia explains this era's endless war against the monstrous invaders from beyond, the Outer Ones. He agrees, but on two conditions: that Irina and Ginny join too, and that all of them serve under the scholar Verda. At the lab, they cheerfully ask a strange little girl to go and fetch the great scholar for them. To their utter shock, the childish little girl turns out to actually be the genius Verda herself. She instantly rebuilds her completely wrecked research center with one casual, careless wave of her hand. When Ard reveals that the three of them came from the future, Verda is absolutely overjoyed. Then the legendary champion Lydia herself storms in and immediately starts berating everyone in sight. She quickly sets her wandering sights on the timid young succubus, Ginny. Ard steps in, bluntly calls her behavior a crime, and a furious Lydia challenges him to step outside. The two of them clash in a long, brutal, and completely wordless brawl. It finally ends in a battered draw, and Lydia grudgingly decides that she rather likes the boy. She recruits the whole trio, but warns Ard that he must first earn the demon lord's personal trust. Ard readily accepts the challenge, and the deal between them is sealed. Episode 10 settles the weary group into a grand villa, where a polite maid named Latima warmly welcomes them. On the eve of a massive battle, Irina and Ginny are kept safely tucked away behind the front lines. Ard quickly realizes they've landed right in the middle of the historic Battle of Aurelia Plains. The battle erupts, and the enemy cleverly ambushes the supposedly safe rear supply lines. The brutal raid is led by a feared and famous enemy commander named Bulgan. Ard cuts the man down so effortlessly that he assumes the general was nothing but empty bluster. The soldiers around him grumble that the cocky new recruit has just stolen all of their hard-won glory. But Lydia arrives and reveals that Bulgan was actually the enemy's long-dreaded great general. They press onward to Castle Millennium, the demon lord's own towering fortress. There, the flamboyant champion Alvardo greets the whole group with slow, mocking applause. Then the demon Lord Varvatos himself appears, and a completely starstruck Ginny faints dead away. Varvatos coldly dismisses the battle-hungry champion from his sight. He studies art intently and admits that he has never once been jealous of himself before. In a private audience comes a stunning twist. Varvatos has never even heard himself called the Demon Lord. There are somehow two of them, and the entire group reels at the impossible idea. Ard realizes someone has altered history itself, and that this world's false Demon Lord is their true enemy. The usurper rose just 3 years ago, and even the mighty Varvatos couldn't fully defeat him. Lydia recruits Ard to join her directly on the front lines of the war. Their target is a monstrous, towering archdemon, Mevala's the Cursed King. Privately, Ard recalls with dread that Mevala's was once a reason he had to kill Lydia. Vowing never to repeat that terrible history, he charges headlong into the battle. But they arrive only to find the dreaded Mevala's already lying beheaded on the ground. The killer reveals himself as the enemy Demon Lord and openly declares war on every one of them. Then he simply vanishes, leaving the champion and the so-called foolish young man behind. Episode 11 opens on a tense war council, fiercely debating how to fight the enemy Demon Lord. Lord Varvatos resolves to end the entire war in one decisive strike, personally leading his armies. He'll commit every single one of the legendary top 4 heavenly kings to the all-out assault. Asked how to kill an enemy who claims to be truly immortal, he only answers, "That's a secret." Back home, the quietly devoted maid Latima offers Ard her loyal personal service. Ard broods that history has already shifted around him. This time, Lydia was never cursed at all. Then a mysterious double of himself suddenly appears, claiming to be one and the very same person. He's an Ard from another world who lost everything, now calling himself Disaster Rogue, the complete failure. His goal is to save Lydia and atone, because in his world he was forced to kill her with his own hands. He even calmly invites Ard to simply set everything aside and join him. But the god gave him the exact opposite mission, to utterly destroy the entire world. His mad plan is to make this world's Lydia kill him, exactly as he once killed his own. He gives Ard 3 full days to answer, at a desolate place called the Ruined Earth. Ard quietly tests the maid Latima, who swears without hesitation that she'd sacrifice anything for Lydia. Over breakfast, his friends bluntly ask if he's secretly the Demon Lord, and he flatly denies it. Lydia then drags him out into the bustling town to spend the day together. Afterward, she flies him out to a ruined demon city, the haunting site of her single greatest sin. Vengeful, wailing ghosts swarm around them, screaming that Lydia once slaughtered their helpless children. She confesses that her own army massacred the entire city's people down to the very last soul. Calling herself nothing but a murderer, she reveals she has already chosen exactly how she will die. She'll live and die as the champion, and she begs Ard not to change that chosen fate. Meanwhile, the real war continues to rage on across the distant plains. The battle-mad commander Alvardo Exex tears the entire field apart with his forbidden Hell's Gate. His own side begins to despair that the Demon Lord's endless army will simply never run out. Lydia hands her command over to Sylphie and quietly leaves to go and meet Ard. At the Ruined Earth, Ard refuses to save Lydia because it isn't what she truly wants for herself. Their duel erupts, and Disaster Rogue reveals it is all a trap, timed perfectly to the main assault. The finale opens with Irina and Ginny quietly despairing at being left behind from the battle yet again. Then Latima suddenly arrives bearing secret orders that come straight from Ard himself. Ard has uncovered the Demon Lord's immortality. His very soul is sealed away inside a hidden vessel. Destroy that vessel, and he becomes mortal again, and Ard has discovered exactly where it lies hidden. The entire war is only a diversion. The girl's real mission is to slip in and shatter the vessel. Latima bravely holds off the enemy soldiers as the two girls race deep through a secret passage. They finally reach the glowing vessel and steel themselves to destroy it. But it's a trap. Their magic is suddenly sealed, and Latima reveals she has betrayed them all along. The Demon Lord appears and takes the two girls hostage to manipulate and control Ard from afar. He coldly confesses he will ruin the entire world, if that is what it takes to save Lydia. But the girls refuse to break, fighting back fiercely with their own unconventional magic. Then Lydia herself arrives, having tracked the girls all along through a pair of enchanted hairpins. She rejects the sacrifice entirely, vowing to live and die properly as the champion. The vessel finally shatters, stripping the demon lord of his cherished immortality at last. Then his own alter ego rises up to confront him over everything he has done. Invoking the power of a private kingdom, it utterly overwhelms the broken, grieving demon lord. A flashback reveals that Disaster Rogue once chose peace and was bitterly branded a traitor for it. Weeping at last, he finally admits the truth he could never say aloud, that he loved her. Lydia opens a shining portal to send the girls home, revealing she had known their secret all along. She asks if the future is a happy place, and Irina promises that it is, full of smiles. Then Lydia tenderly entrusts the girls with one final message to carry back home to Ard. Out on the battlefield, the enemy army is finally routed, and the long, bloody war is won. Ard, his secret work quietly finished, has already slipped away back home. Back in the present day, the group wakes amid the crumbling ruins of the old royal capital. Irina delivers Lydia's last message, that no matter what comes, they will always be the best of friends. And the reborn demon lord, moved to his very core, whispers his quiet, heartfelt thanks. Lydia,